Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel It Will Aspire, and today we are going to see the topic the Reformation. In this slide, we are going to see the Reformation means, what are the cause for the Reformation, Reformation in England during the Henry VIII period, then the dissolution of monasteries, Reformation during Edward VI and Queen Mary, then the religious settlement done by Queen Elizabeth, and we are getting the conclusion part, the result of Reformation. Now the first slide is the term Reformation. In the Renaissance essay, we have seen the first slide is Renaissance means rebirth or revival of learning. In the same way here, the Reformation is nothing but changes took place in religion, particularly in the church. That was happened in 16th century. The main changes took place in the doctrines and the practice of the Church of Rome. There was a revolt against Catholicism, and the new religion was started by Henry VIII, which we are going to see in the next slides. There were many reasons to start the Reformation movement, but the two main reasons were the doctrine and practice of the church were outdated and it became irrelevant. And the second reason was questioning attitude among the public was another reason. As we have learned in the previous essay in the Renaissance, people started questioning when they start learning. So here the Reformation begins with the questioning attitude and the changes in the religious movement. In the next slide, we are going to see the cause for the Reformation. What are the causes for the Reformation? In the Reformation, we can see that the growing spirit of nationalism. Everybody will say that I am an Indian, I am a nationalist and everything. But the seed was sown by Joan of Arc during the 15th century. Now I want to give the history of Joan of Arc. Joan of Arc is a girl who was born to a farmer. She fought for the France against the English people. At the time, English king was Henry VI. English people were defeated and France won the war. Charles VII became a king at the time. Such a bold girl she is. In 1430, she was captured by the troops who were loyal to King Henry VIII, and she was condemned and burnt at the stake in May 1431. At the time, her age was 19. Such a woman who sown the seed for nationalism that makes the people to think their own nation's independence and individuality. The spirit of the time was France for the French, England for the English, and Germany for the Germans. It was like that. The nation, which had been so far under the rule of Pope, did not like the authority of foreign the Pope. Nepotism and favoritism were widespread practice in the churches, and so the people got disappointed and raised voice against the mock and fighters. In the next slide, we are going to see England joining the Reformation. In Germany, the great King Martin Luther revolted against the doctrines of church authorities, and he wrote a letter to Archbishop about the scandals which was spread among the monks and friars. But he was excommunicated. He disobeyed the excommunication order and he burned that order. Then in the next year, he was summoned by the Pope, he was called by the Pope, but he refused to give up his stand and refused to meet the Pope. Later, what happened is the followers of Martin Luther King, many monks and friars, nuns, left the monasteries and they got married. Even Martin Luther King got married at the age of 14. He married a girl who is 16 years junior to him. His wife gave birth to a child 10 days after their marriage. This is how the monasteries, the church was dissoluted. In the next slide, the Reformation in the time of Henry VIII. In this slide, in this time, we can see the division of the church. There was a little response for the Reformation movement in England. King Henry VIII wrote a doctrines to the Pope. But at the time, the Pope Leo X conferred on him the title Defender of Faith, that is, Defender of Faith. He lost the faith in the church. Henry VIII had a misunderstanding with the Pope on the issue of his divorce and the remarriage. Henry VIII got married to the first wife, Catherine, daughter of Spain. Henry VIII wanted to marry another lady who is maid to Catherine. Her name was Anne Boleyn. He could not get the necessary papal permission from the Pope. Then Henry VIII refused the words of Pope and he demanded divorce from Catherine of Spain, which could make possible a marriage with Anne Boleyn. Henry VIII angrily threw off the papal authority and declared himself the supreme head of the church in England. The Henry VIII gained a control of everything under his control, and he became the supreme head of the church in England. Here, Catholicism people were left. This movement started in England in 1529. He summoned the Reformation Parliament. He called for the Parliament movement. Few people supported the English churches from Rome and ended all papal interferences in England. Thus, England came to have a national church with a monarch as a head. This is how Henry VIII separated the church in England. There we are seeing in the next video, we can see that religions in England, where we can see Catholics and Protestantism, how they were divided. They were divided during the Reformation movement because of Henry VIII. He wanted to marry another woman, so he needed divorce. Divorce was strictly prohibited by the Catholicism people. But he was against to the church, he was against to the Pope's word. So he was separated from the church. He himself separated from the church and he started a new supreme things in the Church of England. Then the dissolution of monasteries. Already we have seen that many monks and many nuns in Germany, they left the church and they got married and they settled their life. Then here, dissolution of monasteries and the appropriation of ecclesiastical properties complete the anti-clerical revolutions. At the times, monks and friars were regarded as the agent of Pope. Therefore, king wanted to despair them. Moreover, the king and his men had an eye on the vast estate of monastery's house, because monks and friars, when they were in their position, they have captured the many lands from the people. So Henry VIII declared that he gets all the power, wealth and privileges from the hands of the monks and friars, and the land was confiscated. Monastery's land was confiscated. This is how the monasteries has been dissoluted. Then we can see Thomas More. Moreover, all the Monks, friars have left. They have given their lands, but two people were refused. One is Thomas More, which we have seen in the essay editions. The great work Utopia was written by him. The same person, Thomas More and the Fisher, refused to accept the authority of the Henry VIII. They both were immediately executed, and their heads were placed on London Bridge as a warning for the others. In 1536, the Reformation Parliament passed a bill to dissolve all the monasteries. With the disappearance of abbots and priors, the church lost their majority in the House of Lords. Everything was lost. Henry VIII abolished everything. Then the laymen gained the upper hand. Common people became lords. For the first time in the history, we can see that the clergymen were brought under the control of laymen. This was happened in 16th century. Then in the next slide, we are going to see the Reformation during the Edward VI and Queen Mary. So here also, we can see the foundation were all diluted. In 1549, the first prayer book for the Church of England was prepared by Archbishop Cranmer. The second English prayer book was published after 2 years by the same person. It was read all over the England people, the Rome also. When Queen Mary came to the throne, she brought the old Latin prayer book. We remember that old Latin prayer book in John Gutenberg's period. First book printed in Latin. That book came into the prayer for the people. And she imposes that Latin is the language. They have to learn Latin. They have to pray in Latin and everything. She ordered the lords to give back the lands which they have got from the Henry VIII. But the lords refused to do so, because we have seen that in the previous slide, normal people became lords. The power, the lands which was taken by Henry VIII from the monks and friars was given to the lords. So Queen Mary asked the lords to return all their properties, but they refused. At the time, Queen Mary's husband, Philip II of Spain, advised her to be moderate on religious matter. She wanted to wipe out the Protestantism, which was started by Henry VIII. From England, she wanted to wipe out the Protestantism, and she wanted to follow the Roman Catholicism. Those who are refusing to accept her order, that such people are burnt alive at the place called Smithfield. During the span of 5 years in her ruling period, she has burnt almost 300 people alive. This makes the people to be very rigid. Some people doesn't follow any prayers and everything. Then we are getting at the end of the Reformation. What happened is religious settlement done by Queen Elizabeth. Before talking about the Queen Elizabeth, the settlement of Reformation, I want to talk about the Henry VIII, because Queen Elizabeth was a daughter of Henry VIII. Henry VIII got divorced from Catherine and married Anne Boleyn. So Queen Elizabeth was a daughter of Henry VIII and Anne Boleyn. So she wants to follow the footsteps of her father. So she gets into compromise by both the Catholic people and the Protestantism. So this is the end of the Reformation. In the Renaissance also we have seen that harmony, peace, settlement, massive wealth, everything was only in the period of Queen Elizabeth. Here also we can see it was a Queen Elizabeth who found the Church of England. A common prayer book was issued. The Act of Supremacy made the Church of England independent one from Rome. Attendance of the church on Sundays and other holidays were imposed. A fine of 12 pennies was levied on the absentees, those who were absent on churches on the Sunday and on the holy functions of the Christianity. They were fined 12 pennies. Only the extreme Catholics did not turn up to the prayers and they paid the fine also. Those who belong to the Catholics, they have not turned up to pray the Protestantism. But the Protestantism Bible and the Catholics Bible, their formalities or everything more or less same. But the names was different. So the religious settlement was done by Queen Elizabeth in the Reformation period. The result of the Reformation is overall Reformation brought peace in many European countries and in England also. Reformation brought through the Elizabethan compromise, whereas in many European countries it caused religious civil war also during at the time, because at the time they have only the one religion, that is Catholicism. Today we say it is a RC, that is a Roman Catholicism. It was broken because of Henry VIII and it was divided into Catholicism and Protestantism, which we are going to see in detail about Catholicism and Protestantism in the essay Religious in England. Students, if you have any doubts regarding this topic, you can send me the mail to my mail ID, which is given here. You can note it down. And we are providing some notes for this subject. If you want to buy, contact through this mail ID at any time. Thank you.